The modern world runs on oil, but oil is rarely found where it's most needed. This mismatch fuels a vast global trade, with colossal tankers forming a moving pipeline between oil-rich nations and energy-hungry economies. These supertankers, some longer than 3 football fields, carry millions of barrels of oil across strategic maritime choke points like the Strait of Hormuz and the Suez Canal. The uninterrupted flow of oil is vital for stable energy prices and global economic health. Disruptions, whether from piracy, conflict, or accident, can send shockwaves through markets worldwide. International laws and agreements govern these seas, with ships tracked by automatic identification systems, or AIS, for safety and transparency. But when geopolitics intervenes, this order can unravel. Sanctions can suddenly make oil from certain countries off limits, turning the open ocean into a battleground for power and policy. This is where the story of the Venezuelan tanker, the Aquila II, begins. A tale of how global commerce can become a stage for international conflict. For years, the U.S. has imposed tough sanctions on Venezuela, targeting its state oil company to pressure the government. The goal: cut off revenue and force political change. In late 2025, the U.S. escalated to a full naval blockade, ordering the Navy to intercept any vessel carrying sanctioned Venezuelan oil. This marked a shift from financial penalties to direct military enforcement. The blockade intensified after a U.S. operation captured Nicolas Maduro, with Washington now seizing Venezuelan oil, selling it, and controlling the proceeds. The U.S. claims this is to stabilize Venezuela and ensure oil money benefits its people, but critics see it as a bold intervention in another nation's economy. A massive U.S. naval force now patrols the Caribbean, the largest since the Cuban Missile Crisis, determined to stop any tanker with Venezuelan crude. The message: any ship, anywhere, is a target if it carries sanctioned oil. This policy has global reach, transforming shipping lanes into a new front in geopolitical conflict. The blockade is not just about Venezuela. It's about who controls the world's energy flows, and it's setting the stage for direct confrontations far from Venezuelan shores. Despite the blockade, Venezuelan oil still reaches buyers, mainly in China, through a shadowy network of traders and shippers. Chinese teapot refiners snap up discounted crude, boosting profits and defying U.S. policy. The trade relies on deception, shell companies, forged documents, and risky ship-to-ship transfers in open waters. The vessels, part of the so-called dark fleet, operate outside normal regulations, constantly changing flags and identities to evade detection. These tankers often sail under flags of convenience, switching registrations to stay ahead of authorities. For China, the payoff is cheap energy and a chance to challenge U.S. dominance. By buying sanctioned oil, Beijing undermines American pressure and positions itself as an alternative partner for isolated states. It's a calculated risk, balancing economic gain against diplomatic fallout. The shadow trade is a high-stakes game, and every shipment is a test of U.S. resolve. The Aquila II was one such test, sailing straight into the crosshairs of the new blockade. On February 9, 2026, the U.S. Navy intercepted the Aquila II in the Indian Ocean, a Suezmax tanker carrying 700,000 barrels of Venezuelan crude bound for China. The operation was swift. U.S. forces boarded the ship after it ignored hails, securing it without resistance. This was the 8th tanker seized since the blockade began, part of a month-long crackdown. Other seizures included ships flagged to Russia and stateless dark fleet vessels, sparking international outrage. The U.S. made clear, the blockade is global, and no distance offers safety. The Aquila II's fate is now in American hands, its cargo destined for U.S. ports, and its seizure a warning to all who would defy the blockade. The Aquila II is part of the Dark Fleet, hundreds of tankers moving oil from sanctioned states like Venezuela, Iran, and Russia. These ships use deception to avoid detection, spoofing their locations, switching off transponders, and constantly changing names and flags. The Dark Fleet has grown rapidly as sanctions tightened, making enforcement a high-tech cat-and-mouse game. U.S. and allied forces counter with satellite imagery, radio analysis, and intelligence to track ships even when they go dark. The Marinera, a Russian-flagged tanker, was seized after a 2-week chase. Its identity changed mid-voyage. This arms race at sea is relentless, with each side adapting to the other's tactics. The capture of the Aquila II shows that even the most elusive tankers can be found. On the high seas, the battle for control is as much about technology as it is about oil. The seizure of the Aquila II is more than a maritime incident, it's a flashpoint in the US-China rivalry. By stopping a tanker bound for China, the US has escalated the contest from trade wars to direct military action. For Venezuela, the blockade deepens its economic crisis, while critics argue the US is overreaching and risking humanitarian fallout. Allies back the blockade, but rivals like Russia call it piracy, raising questions about the rules of the sea. Such actions could set dangerous precedents, making global shipping lanes more contested and unpredictable. For ordinary people, these power plays mean higher energy prices and economic uncertainty. The Aquila II's journey is a stark reminder. In a connected world, a single ship can trigger global consequences.